Hi, everyone, and welcome to AB Conversations, where we will help you CFP your way out of it. A podcast where you get into the minds of a couple certified financial planners on how we think and feel about everyday financial planning questions and what should really matter most to you. A healthier financial life starts now.
Hi, Adam.
Hey there, Ben.
Happy podcast day. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Excellent.
I usually say that excellent, even when I don't mean it. I like to
Yep.
present a lot of energy to this podcast, and yes, I am therefore excellent.
And the upside of that is if you are so consistent with your messaging, I'm not going to know if you're lying or not.
I
I'm going to
like it.
assume that you're not going to feel excellent every single time you say it, but fake it till you make it, put on a
That's
happy
right.
face, and we'll get through it.
I tell you what, if I can use your words then, consistent messaging, I'll use that as a segue. This is going to be titled, and I know we've done this in other podcasts. We've reviewed what we've said in the past just to make sure that we feel the same way and can communicate that to clients. We did a
Mhm.
podcast, if you remember, it was number 43. This is shortly after COVID that we started this podcast. We
Mhm.
kind of put our stake in the ground and said, here are 5 bold predictions for what we think the future of advising is going to look like. And I don't know about you, but I'm kind of shocked we're still here 5 years later recording a podcast. But because
Right?
we kind of have to hold ourselves accountable and say, were we
Yeah.
right? Were we wrong? To what degree? And it has to all be within this lens of we want to give valuable information to our clients, potential clients, and other advisors that might be listening. So
Yeah. Yeah.
let's review what we said 5 years ago. See where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. I think it's a fun exercise. And in prep for this revisit of podcast episode 43,
Yeah.
just seeing some of those predictions, I felt good with them now seeing them 4 years later or so. So
Yeah.
that I think that was good. I don't think we wildly, changed our minds on any or were wildly wrong. I think maybe it's taken a little bit longer for some of these, but we'll kind of dive in. So the first one was just the ratio of financial advisors to certified financial planners, right? The highest designation in our industry for financial planners. So it's still, that hasn't shifted a whole heck of a lot. There are 283,000 advisors, give or take, in our country, and about 103,000 of those 283,000 are certified financial planners. So in my mind, that's a lot of CFPs, which is great. From when we recorded back in 2021, it's really only grown that ratio by 3%. There's only 3% more CFPs to advisors than there was 3.5, 4 years ago, which doesn't feel like a huge shift, which is what we
Yeah.
were predicting, right? A bigger flip that there's going to be way more CFPs than non-CFPs.
Right. So from that standpoint, we probably didn't hit the mark on that, but let's just dig a little deeper there because I think these are 2 important anecdotal points that we can make here. The growth, though, of younger CFPs is certainly there. In fact, last year, 57% of new certificates were actually under the age of 35. So
Mhm.
in an industry where advising really does look very white hair, we have definitely seen those demographics shift. And I would take this one step further, not to focus on CFP, but I saw a great stat. Now, this is going back, probably close to 15 years ago, but the CFP board has put a lot of effort into increasing awareness for the designation. That now, the awareness is at like 90% of consumers are aware of it. And frankly, the stat I do love to show is that since 2011, the preference for a CFP has grown from 22% to now 89% since
Yeah.
2024. So if the
Yeah.
theme of us talking about, the ratio of CFP to financial advisor, it hasn't changed, but the consumer preference appears to clearly be changing.
Yeah. Which I want to take that and pivot to maybe our second prediction because I think that
Yeah.
those two themes I think are linked. So our second prediction was commission-based business models will hopefully die out. And I think that is further reinforced by those trends of consumers wanting to work with CFPs, right? And hopefully not in that commission-based kind of product world, really Let's pay fees for service and advice. And
Right.
even just that, more than half of new CFP certificates are under the age of 35, I think is kind of furthering that point, right? For young people wanting to be in this industry, there is still sales that go along with it, but it should be more of the focus on advice holistically, which again is kind of reinforced by more of these younger planners focusing on the designation, doing the right things by seeing somebody's whole picture and giving true advice rather than just, selling an investment, selling an insurance product or something of the like.
Yeah, and clearly, in fair disclosure, certainly our clients would know this, but to anybody else listening, we have a bias here. We don't have securities licenses anymore because we did not want to be, we don't want to confuse anybody that's coming to us with how we get paid, right? We only get paid to
Mhm.
give advice. Uh, there's still, I would say, there still is a place for commission-based business, but
Sure.
what I think is actually shifting is that the awareness and therefore somebody saying, "I have a preference in this space," right, is for an insurance product, for an annuity, for something that's gonna provide them with what they want, the
Mhm.
safety, security, guarantees, whatever that would be. I think
Mhm.
the awareness is there. So what has changed is maybe the consumer of the past being unaware of how they were paying or uninformed of
Yeah.
what the relationship was. I believe we are trending in that direction, which is why you probably made a good point. Prediction number one and prediction number two really are somewhat linked, I think.
Yeah, and I think our hope is for the consumer here, the client side of things, is that there's at least just transparency on how you are
Yeah.
engaging with an advisor, just to be able to make a conscious decision. To your point, if somebody wants to purchase an annuity because they like the safety and security of those guarantees that may come along with that, understand that person is being incentivized or compensated by selling you that annuity product. They
But
may
if that's
not
what you
be.
want, then
Right, right.
to each their
Yeah.
own.
Yep. You need some milk, go to the grocery store, buy some milk. Somebody's making money along the way. That's fine. As long as you're not thinking you're getting advice on the type of milk to buy and paying somebody for that specific advice. So yes, I think that's very fair in this instance.
Yeah, and it's just support that concept with a little bit more stats. The right in I'm struggling here because I want to give them the acronym like the RIA and
Yeah.
IAR.
Investment advisor representative.
Right. So though right, those that don't have their securities license anymore like us, right? Those that no
Yes.
longer have that affiliation, those
Yeah.
numbers go ahead.
Yeah. Fee only, let's say.
Yeah,
People that don't have a license to sell commissionable products, to sell commissionable investments.
those numbers, there was around 70 from what I just looked up today. There was around
Mhm.
70,000 in 2021 when we recorded this last.
Yeah.
I don't know what the numbers were for 2024, but at the end of 2023, it was closer to 90,000, right? We're looking at a
Yeah.
25% increase in those that said, "I don't want this license anymore because I want to be fee only." Clearly, those numbers are showing me that we thought this was coming and it is happening.
Yeah. Yes. Which again, I think that makes sense from the consumer side. Interesting thought. Like, I wonder
All
which
right.
one. Am I all right? I wonder which one drives this forward the most? Is it the advising side thinking ahead of here's what we think consumers want? Or is it truly the consumer saying, we don't want to be sold things, we just want advice? And that's what's forcing the advising world to kind of adapt in this way. I don't know which comes first, the chicken or the egg in this situation, but the fact that it is moving that direction is all that truly matters in our minds.
Yeah, and I would be willing to bet that it's more supply than demand. Right?
Mm,
That just think of our own experience, right? Little Kutztown, Pennsylvania. People call, it's not every day that there's a new prospect, calling in wanting to work with us, but we get
mhm.
plenty of it. And it's more often today, certainly than it was 5 years ago, that the consumer is asking the question, are you a fiduciary? Right? Something of
Yeah,
that nature. So I think just in our own world, that's happening.
yeah, for sure. So I'm going
Yeah.
to go to number three, that financial planning firms, the prediction was that financial planning firms will expand into more of a one-stop shop for financial advice, tax advice, estate planning advice, kind of the idea of more of a one stop. This is the office I go to, and I'm getting all of these different pieces of my financial life handled by different professionals
Is it happening? I don't know. I think, the
on a
studies that
smaller
I
scale. Yeah,
yeah, the studies that I read, and again, anecdotally, we started working with somebody last year who said, the estate attorney that's settling her mom's estate also gives investment advice. We've
yeah,
long known advisors out there who also do taxes. So I think that's probably why we said it. That whole idea, family office, everything in one spot. I believe
yeah,
there's an appetite with our own clients, that ask, hey, can't you just do my taxes? Like, why do I got to
yeah,
in the middle here? Um,
yeah,
I just don't know that there are clear statistics out there that kind of prove that this is growing. You know,
yeah.
at least I haven't seen them.
Yeah, and I think just in this industry in general, that those bigger they do call them like a family office that does really cover everything and keeps a lot of that in house. The financial advising industry as a whole is certainly more focused on the higher net worth, where you can pay or somebody
Yeah.
has the resources to pay for those broader services, right, under one umbrella, and you're paying for that convenience. I think it's harder to scale that at a lower level. That's why I think it's just a slower progression. But there's certainly a ton of benefit to keep things in one spot. To your point, it's if you're working with a group that you trust for advice, to be able to get your taxes done there, just it's peace of mind, right?
Yeah.
And continuity for advice too. So, yeah, I think that is still trending. That will become more and more ubiquitous, but I don't think that is a short term thing. I think that is more of just a longer term trend that will just take time.
Yeah, I think you said that very well because you have to be able to do that on a more local, smaller scale, I think is
Yeah,
what we're talking about here. Because again, free and fair disclosure, it's not like we haven't considered doing it, but we'd be doing it as an added convenience and service, not necessarily because it's a profit margin for
right.
a more traditional 1099 relationship with certain clients.
Yeah,
Certainly, even on the estate side, I don't want to confuse the matter here. One stop shop to us, we're talking about the implementation of the advice. We are to
right.
give proactive tax planning advice. We are to
Yeah,
give our opinions on beneficiary designations and how wills and living wills really should be documented. It's
yeah,
taking it to the next level where we give the advice to the client. Now, certainly in our world, we want to be accountable to the implementation of that advice. All the better for the client if we can go, look, if we're all in agreement here, we can just take care of it. It's not
yeah,
usually the case with a traditional
yeah.
financial planning firm because there'd have to be a referral out or there'd have to be a partnership with a tax attorney or an estate attorney.
Yep, yep, exactly. All right. So bold prediction number four, which was funny for me to revisit. So I'll say what the prediction is, and then maybe I'll give my little 2 cents. So the
Yeah.
prediction was that technology and robo-advisor platforms will augment, not replace, human financial advisors. Which, when I read that, I was trying to think back to where we were, 4 years ago or so, when that robo-advising kind of fervor was really rampant, and it was technology is going to automate the investment process for a lot of investors. You don't need to go to a financial advisor to get asset allocation investment advice. I don't necessarily disagree with, but what what really came out of that these last couple of years was just I think it really showed how commoditized the investments truly are. And that's great to if you want to use an online platform to
Right.
help with the asset allocation, help with, figuring out to what degree you should be taking risk in your different accounts. But beyond that, there's still the rest of your financial life. There's still
Mhm.
planning that needs to happen. And that technology has not yet solved. And I don't really see that anytime soon because the human element is still so important.
Yeah. And this is maybe where bold prediction number four will match or carry over into bold prediction number 5, like 1 and 2 went
Yeah.
together. Yeah, I
Yep.
think the beauty of financial planning to me is that there's so many different ways to go about it, and the solutions, or maybe I should say, the strategies definitely are different depending on, like, where you are at in life, what you value. the Robo platform makes sense to me, and we saw big growth in that, leading up to 2021.
Mm,
Stats have shown that has teetered off in a major way, and maybe that's because
yeah.
of what we'll talk about in bold prediction number 5. But where it does really fit and where I think it should probably continue to be an asset, for the industry, it's with the younger consumer. It's with those
Sure.
portfolios that does the service and the advice, does it really make sense to pay 1%, north of 1% to have that advisor when you're 35 years old and really what you should be doing is just saving, saving, saving anyway.
Yeah.
Robo-Advisor fits really well there. I believe the average portfolio size in a robo platform is around 60,000, right? So
Okay.
that speaks to where it's being used, and I think it matches where we think it should be used.
Yeah.
But I would still say that's not going to replace the advisor who is there for people who go, I don't know how to handle this retirement thing. I don't know how to make these big irrevocable decisions. I don't know
Yeah.
how pulling this one lever is going to affect this other lever. Like, that's why
Right.
we have a job.
Yeah. And I mean, we did not predict the proliferation of artificial intelligence
Yeah.
over the last year and a half or 2 years, which that certainly has some potential in the future to maybe take some of more of like the human reasoning side
Yes.
of that, right? Maybe there is more potential for advice, but still you are trusting your financial future with an output from a machine. And that in different circumstances, that may be fine. Humans are flawed, right? We're not all perfect. But that said, the ability, I think that just further drives home the point for me that the more technology, the more AI becomes relevant in today's, industry, this day and age, it's more there, I think, to augment what is already happening, maybe create some efficiencies, maybe further some effectiveness of
Yeah.
advice, more so than replace the advisors as a whole.
So, permission to move into point number 5 here, where we said the prediction was that there would be an increased focus on behavioral finance. We call it the human element. And I believe we can tie these two things together. Sure, we can plug something into Chat GPT to Google and say, what's the output that we want here? What's the answer to the question? But there still is this huge gap between knowing what to do and getting it done, the implementation of advice. And for a lot of people, in between that gap of I know what I should do and getting it done is also maybe a lot of anxiety, a lot of confusion, a lot of second guessing, where sometimes it's as simple as I still need a professional to look at this and tell me that I'm going to be okay if I do this, or to be a
Hmm.
thought partner with me and answer or think through with me my what if questions. And that's where
Yeah.
I think technology is great, but this human element of what people require from us and need us to do, it's still a service based industry after it's an advice based industry.
Yeah. And even something as simple, and I love that you use that term, like those what if scenarios, just something as simple as that there can be the black and white that says if I want to retire at age 62 and I want to live off $100,000 of income, you can do a quick calculation, right, to determine what do I need to save to get there. You're making a
Yep.
lot of assumptions built into that. That's all well and good, right? You can mathematize. Is that even a word? You,
Yeah. I love it.
you
Do
can
it.
turn some of these questions into math equations, but what that doesn't factor in is the human element, right? Great. You're telling me I need to invest in this. This is a theoretical, right? This computer model is telling me I need to invest in this certain way to reach my goal. But what if
How?
I can't? Yeah. What if well, number one, not even the how, but what if I can't emotionally deal with a market downturn with that level of risk to get to my goal? And now I jump out of the lifeboat when I shouldn't have even been in the storm to begin with. And that's where, right, the optimum outcome when it
Yeah.
comes to strategy or just direction with planning needs to factor in the person, the situation, to not necessarily come up with the exact picture perfect strategy or advice. It's really what's the next best step for this person to take that they can take, right? The implementation of that action is of primary importance in when it comes to the strategy.
Well, and in some cases, those shades of gray stopping the action, right? We've used this stat
Yeah,
before. The average returns over the last 20 years, S&P 500's like 10%, 60/40 portfolio, 6 or 7. The average investor's at like 4, right? And there's
yeah,
just one simple explanation for that, and it's we're human beings, right?
yeah.
We could have this robo model, but if we're not feeling good about what's going on in the world, it's not hard to click that button and stop what we're doing when the human interaction that we need to have with them is to maybe keep
Yeah.
them between them and pushing that panic button. I certainly, if we were going to make bold predictions moving forward again, I
Hmm.
think the
Hmm.
necessity of this human element and the consumer desire for this human element is only going to continue to grow,
Yeah.
regardless of
Yeah.
technology and AI.
Yeah. And I think it really does put the focus, and to the point where, going back to bold prediction number one with focus on CFPs in this industry, the fact that the CFP board added the behavioral finance element to the curriculum now,
Yeah.
I think further drives home that point that our industry, advisors and planners, need to be much better equipped to be able to have those conversations and guide people with reality in mind, and not just the, well, here's what you need to go do. Here you go. Here's your advice. Go execute it. Good luck. It just, that works for some, but not for most.
And back to your question on supply versus demand, like who's really driving this? You know the answer to this, but I'm going to ask you anyway. What's the number one skill that the consumer wants from an advisor? It's their interpersonal skills. It's not
Yeah.
technical knowledge. It's not
Yep.
their use of a calculator, right? People are hiring us more and more because they need a partner in this process. They need somebody that
Mhm.
they can trust to filter all that information down into what's best for them. They want to have conversation. They want to align their values to their wealth. I don't see that changing. I only see it growing exponentially.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. I agree with that 100%.
So we weren't totally off from 5 years ago.
No, not at all.
Can I put you on the spot? Is there anything that now looking backwards, we've
Yeah.
given our comments. Is there anything that you think you would boldly say will be dramatically different 5 years from now? And how advice is given or how the industry is perceived or how it's functioning?
Nothing obvious or nothing that I can point to as like super specific, but I think the ability for technology, and I'll say AI again, but really just technology as a whole, to help shape the client experience for consumers to get out of the process what they're hoping to get out of it, and to help advisors deliver on what we're hoping to help people with, right? So we hopefully remove ourselves further and further from the, I'm going to sell you this investment A, you're going to set it and forget it, and talk to you hopefully never again, and just move on
Mhm.
to the next person. I think the idea of just being able to further that client experience with the use of technology, which in theory should hopefully allow advisors to work with slightly more people, because there are limitations on how much an advisor can do on a day-to-day basis, quantity wise. Our hope, or at least I guess my prediction is, hopefully technology can help streamline a lot of the non client facing side of the business, but also then create a better interface
Yeah.
for
Yeah.
clients to engage and just have that final outcome just feel a little bit easier on the client, that it's not as hard to work with an advisor and actually get to that end stage of implementation, taking action, and
Yeah.
just making sure there is some accountability in that process.
That was going to be my last comment as a prediction that maybe we can look back on if we're going to do this podcast for 5 more years. Lord, can't imagine that. But I think, you and I have kind of shifted the way that we think about our business and how we define success. At a certain point in your career, it's not about the number of clients you work with. It's not about, the profitability of a business. It is the outcomes, right? The fulfillment of the client, the implementation of the advice. And I know we've used this stat before, but 70% of our clients only implement 20% of our advice. That's a low number. And through all of these things that we're talking about, making human connections with clients, using technology in a way that improves their experience and outcomes. I hope that stat, if we look back on that 5 years from now, that there is much better implementation from advice to getting things done. That's going to lead to just greater fulfillment in our clients' lives.
Yeah. Yep. Yep. We'll try to do our part.
To do our part, right? On that stat.
Same page. Yep. Yep.
All right, sir. You have a great rest of the day. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Bye.
See ya.
Hey everyone, Adam and I really appreciate you tuning in. Please note that the opinions we voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be most appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, your accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to making any decisions or investing. Thanks for listening.